still studying. Brad's studying real hard, and I think he's trying to cheat off of Beth's sheet here, and that's not going to work. But here we go. I'm going to see how much you know about homelessness. I'm going to, like I said, this isn't pass or fail, but this is education. Amen? Okay, families with children are the fastest growing segment of the homeless population. True or false? Very true. Number 2, homeless people are typically single men. True or false? False. Nationally, homeless families make up almost as a large percentage of the homeless, 40%, as men do, 45%. Number 3, homeless children do not have the same rights to a public education as children with permanent addresses. That is false. Homeless children have the same rights as housed children, including transportation. Number 4, there is nothing that teachers can do to help their students who experience homelessness. False. Often a teacher can provide much needed structure, support, and stability in the lives of homeless children. Number 5, families are homeless because they're lazy.
False.
Very false. And I hate when I hear that. And how many of you heard that? I have heard that quite often. About 25% of the homeless work for wages, and an enormous amount of physical and mental stamina is required to negotiate the chaos and fear associated with transiency. Number 6, homeless shelters do not provide adequate space and support for children to complete their homework. Ladies and gentlemen, this is true. Homeless shelters do not provide adequate space for young children to do their homework. And the reason is because a lot of our emergency shelters, or a lot of our shelters, will not allow teenagers in, teenage boys. So if we have some that will have families coming in, a lot of times the teenagers have to find a place to live. Now, a lot of times there's not enough room to allow for adequate homework being done. This is one of my passions, make sure that we do get the support, the funding to provide for that.
What is that?
Well, funding and a lot of the education on the getting it out there that there's homeless youth. And James?
The homeless definition changes all that.
Yeah. So, and because the homeless definition has changed, where, you know, the emergency shelters will have to allow them in now, so.
Still that old model of the homeless guy is the single. It's still that old model that the homeless is the single male with the alcohol problem. And, you know, and this just reinforces what we were all saying earlier. Like in our local shelter, I think they only have 2 family spaces, 2 family rooms, and a couple dozen single adult spaces. And it's just that their occupancy is just the opposite. So what happens is those families that get turned away from the shelter because there isn't space are the ones that end up out at the lake or in some other unfortunate situation.
Well, a fine example too is we have a great shelter in Lawrence called First Step, I believe, which only takes women and young children, but they will not take teenage boys. And I know this because I took a homeless family in. I took a teenage boy's, I took him into my home while his mother was in rehab. So with that, there's a lot of separation that goes with. So sorry that you got that wrong, but number 7, parents of homeless children do not care about their children's education. Absolutely false. Parents do care. They are often so overwhelmed with finding work, food, and shelter for their children that education loses its priority due to the lack of basic necessities. How many of you find that true? Trying to get them out of crisis first is the first thing that we do, isn't it? Number 8, homeless families are aware of the resources available to them. Yes, false. Homeless parents often do not know about all the services available to them. They are often unaware of their children's rights to education as well. Number 9, true or false, transportation is often a major hurdle for homeless families. Absolutely true. Number 10, parents have a right to keep their children in their original school or move them into a nearby school. This is very true. This is one of the biggest fights as working with school districts that we have had, because any child that is homeless in one district and the parents are moving to another district, or if the child has the right to stay in that district to go to school. So this has been a fight because a lot of times you have to find transportation to transport. And this happens when maybe the father or somebody found a job in another city or another town. So it happens quite often.